Well, hello, my baby gorillas, and that was absolutely shocking. I would have just thought you would click on and you would get straight through to through the OBS and onto YouTube. My goodness, that was hard work. I don't know I'm not even sure if it's going live just now. Oh, there it is. We're in. Oh my goodness, honestly, you would think technology made your life easier. So let's go straight into this. Civil war in the Labour Party. This, I think, is from the, let's just give credit where credit's due, the Express. Now, we already know, I mean, this isn't new. This civil war in the Labour Party has been going on for a long, long time. It's the two juxtapositions between the Marxist, neo-reactionary, communist, crypto-communist, racist, post-modernist communists, Marxists that are in the Labour Party, and the Social Democrats, such as Tony Blair, both equally unlikable bunch, to be brutally honest, equally unlikable. That's why the Labour Party is completely, almost been wiped out in Scotland. I didn't think it was going, I always knew there was going to be situations that actually happened in Scotland that was going to decline, but I didn't realise that the Labour Party will wipe itself out. The Social Democrats, in the way of Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, just totally wiped out the Labour Party in Scotland. And they didn't do very well under Corbyn either. I think they've only got one MP. They've got one MP in Scotland, and they can't win it. I don't think they're going to be able to win it back. So that means they're not going to be able to form a government in the UK. So this is, and they're going to have ongoing battles, internal battles, because it's now become not a party for the workers. It's become a party for the entitled middle class, and it's all university students, and now they're pandering to ethnic minorities. But a lot of ethnic minorities are very clever, unlike Diana and David Lammy. They can see through Marxism, and some people might have fled from authoritarian dictatorships, and they can see what is actually happening here. But it's got 10 times worse now that there is now what's happened with us leaving the EU, thanks to Nigel, and it's got 10 times worse because Keir Starmer is a corporatist globalist. He's a social democratic corporatist globalist. Part of the Trilateral Commission with Jeffrey Epstein. Don't know if there's control there. He certainly looks a very strange character, Keir Starmer. And now the left, because the Social Democrats have tried to get rid of Corbyn, now Corbyn and the commies are now trying to get rid of Keir Starmer because he's just Boris Light. He's agreeing with everything Boris says, a bit like Nicola Sturgeon. Oh, we're having a lockdown. We'll have a lockdown. Yeah, we agree with that. We're leaving the EU. Yeah, we agree with that. So it's not an opposition party. The commies are now agitated with Corbyn, with Starmer, to such a extent that, well, these two multi-millionaires in Corbyn and Starmer, who are the representatives of the working man and women, that's why they all disappeared to the Conservative Party. Honestly, it's brilliant. It's absolutely hilarious. Now they are just the bourgeoisie, Labour's bourgeoisie, the rich, entitled middle class, who don't care about the working man now. This is why I think that Boris will hemorrhage people, and the Labour Party will hemorrhage people to the Brexit Party and soon to be the Reform Party. Funny how the Electoral Commission is now holding up Nigel getting the Reform Party as the official name. Interesting that, isn't it? No real problems having left Europe. We've not had any issues. So I mean that's absolutely huge. We've now left the EU. Some large wholesale distributors to the EU have got to fill in a few forms. And that's I prefer my democracy and them filling out the forms than them not filling out my forms and me not having a democracy. Nicola Sturgeon, she looks like she's going to spontaneously combust. 40% of Scots, Nicola, didn't vote to be part of the EU, so don't forget that. There are parties now in the Reform Party and the Scottish Libertarian Party who are against the undemocratic EU, against Fee Nippy and Nicola Sturgeon and the Marxists. Like me, will be in the Marxists. I'll come on to this guy in a minute from the Conservative Party and show you the fifth column, but I want you to understand the Labour. This has now become a part where there's been talks that there's going to be a full split. I think Nevada media and all the other commies have said that there's now going to be an actual split in the Labour Party. That because Corbyn's been kicked out, and obviously Starmer not liking the communist elements in the Labour Party. There is now the sides are actually going to split and have a sort of left wing like a party that George Galloway set up for the workers of the world unite speeches. You've got nothing to put on but your chains for these extreme lefties. And then we've got the Social Democrats, the Tony Blair, Gordon Brown-esque faction of the party. And they're going to split now into two parties. The racist, postmodernist, anti-white racist group and the corporatist globalist group under Keir Starmer. And there's going to actually be a physical split in these two political entities. And I think this is it because of obviously what's happened with Brexit. Some people are calling, wanting to rejoin, and other people are not wanting to rejoin. You know, it's a complete mess in the Labour Party. And it's getting really bitter now, the recriminations, and they're just going really sort of hard at it now. So the Labour divisions over Brexit threaten to reignite after Sir Keir Starmer. Sorry, I'll start that again. Sorry, I was thinking about doing two things at once. I'm going to actually listen to your comments. Goodbye, Lee Roberts. Come back, Lee Roberts. Don't be shy. Hey. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, sir. Good morning, Terry. So I'll just keep this. I'll try and put the sound off in this so I can see your comments or comment to your comments as we go along, and hopefully that'll make it slightly more fun. So let me start this again then. So Labour civil war, which I said was going to happen as well. Sir Keir Starmer sparks fury over Brexit party divide erupts. And then this is really, it's getting really, really intense. The hatred in the Labour Party. They hate each other more than they hate even the Conservative Party, which is incredible. Because obviously one's a communist element and one's the social democratic element. A bit like, if you think about the Democrats in the United States, that they use the communists and the BLM and Antifa, they get using by the corporatist globalists, because the BLM and the Marxists, BLM and the Antifa, who are anarcho-communist, anarcho-syndicalists, different parts of the political spectrum, but both join together to get a using by the corporatist globalists. They just see them as their lackeys, which is why Antifa have not been made a terrorist group as of yet, although I'm sure they will be. Labour divisions over Brexit threatens to reignite after Sir Keir Starmer. That said, his party, come on now, there's no editors in the Express. That said, his party will back Boris Johnson's deal. So you can imagine Keir Starmer is an arch Remainer. He's a part of the Trilateral Commission, which is a corporatist globalist entity that wants to override the indigenous population's right to self-governance. The Remainer claimed the agreement is thin, but insists no deal is simply not an option, which Nicola Sturgeon voted for a no deal and the SNP voted for a no deal. So all the people who said they weren't going to vote for a no deal voted for a no deal. Oh, it's absolutely, you couldn't write it, honestly. But it has infuriated hardcore Europhiles. Now, Keir Starmer is a Euro fanatic as well. He's an arch Remoaner. And as I said, with Jeffrey Epstein and the Trilateral Commission, we don't know if Keir Starmer's got any shady things in the background like Ted Heath. So, allegedly. So we don't know if they've got control over them, so they can be manipulated. But the party was left. Oh, sorry, infuriated hardcore Europhiles in the party who wanted him to abstain or oppose. So he would have been voting for a no deal, no deal Brexit, which is quite funny because all of them have had to flip. So all of the pro EU parties, the Green Party, Labour, Lib Dems, parts of the Conservative Party, and the so-called Nationalist Party, who want to be governed by the EU, the unelected EU, they all had to flip, so they would support a no-deal Brexit. Oh, I thought it was unbelievable, brilliant, so funny. And what have we got? So we want him to abstain or oppose when the pact goes before the House of Commons next week. Sir Keir is braced for front bench resignations, but it's worse than that. It's actually now coming to a point where a lot of the Corbynites are now maybe joining George Galloway's new party, the extreme left, and George Galloway supporting the Communist Party in China, giving milk sock to that. So he's supporting that extreme left, the loony left faction. And I don't know. I think Colin Fox believes in independence. I know that what's his face? What's his name? Tommy Sheridan is an independent supporter, and I think Colin Fox. I don't want to put words in Colin's mouth. Is an independent supporter, whereas George Galloway is a British Unionist. So I don't. But a lot of the Labour Party, that sort of hard left, neo-Marxist, Frankfurt School, racist, reactionary party, might be joining up with George Galloway. So I mean, this is a massive, massive thing, and they're just going to leave, join George's, and have two parties: the Labour Party under the Social Democrats, and basically their sort of reactionary Frankfurt School Marxism, and versus the hardcore Marxists like old MacDonald. So Sir Keir is braced for front bench resignations from junior shadow ministers. All the Euro fanatics are very upset. Who would rather quit than back the deal? See. So basically, Keir Starmer's almost like a member of the Boris's government, that he's supporting Boris in the lockdowns, he's supporting Boris in Brexit, he's supporting Boris in everything. And as I said, there isn't a fag paper between them. They're all actually, they might as well just be one party. Now Keir Starmer, the Social Democrat, is supporting Boris, who seems to be moving to the left. I'll show you this Tory, so-called Tory, in a minute, and show you what's infiltrated in the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party are a fake Conservative Party. The party was left bitterly divided over Brexit, and many supporters in its traditional heartland switched to the Conservatives. That's a hell of a switch. By the way, all you multi-millionaire Labour leaders are not really in touch with the working man in the north, east and west of England anymore. All you London lovies. Oh, who would have thought it? Multi-millionaire Jeremy Corbyn and multi-millionaire Sir Keir Starmer are not in touch with the working man. And Boris Eaton Oxbridge Boris is more in touch. Oh dear. Oh, it just gets better, doesn't it? Oh, fantastic. Switch last election and protest. But many of the Labour MPs are still fiercely opposed to Britain's departure. Bit bloody late now. And do not want to put their name to the agreement. Oh, that's good. Good Euro puppies. There you are, there. The Euro fanatics will never die. Will never die. You want to be governed by an unelected commission? Why not? Oh, you idiots. Undemocratic. So let's just say these guys are undemocratic. Named and shamed. These characters should be. Sir Keir said it was in the national interest to support the agreement, which he doesn't support. despite concerns over terms negotiated by the government. At a moment of such national significance, it is just not credible for the Labour to be on the sidelines. We're preparing to be supporting Boris. Oh dear. Oh, that's brilliant. Speaking after the deal was struck on Christmas Eve, he said that no deal would lead to devastating social, economic, political consequences. Now, I was definitely, and I think everybody else was in favour of a no deal Brexit, but it was good to see that the SNP finally came round to my way of thinking. Thank you very much. He said it was not right for the Labour Party to abstain. I think he whipped the guys. He whipped the guys in. So this is where the real animosity is coming in. This is why the Labour Party is about to split. They really hate each other. And Sir Keir has basically become a sort of left-wing conservative now, which is upsetting the Marxists, and they're tearing the hair out. And now, because Keir Starmer's kicked out Steptoe, he's been kicked out as well. Sir Keir Starmer denied suggestions the decision to vote for the deal to appease large swathes of Brexit-supporting Labour voters at the last general election. Let me read that again. Sir Keir denied the suggestion, the decision to vote for the deal to appease a bit after the fact, isn't it? All the Labour supporters have just jumped ship and joined the Tories under Boris. Oh dear, what happened to Wee Nippy? Wee Nippy, I'll get back to Wee Nippy in a wee minute, but Wee Nippy still is. I think people think the thing about the Alex Salmond investigation's gone away. It's just been the sort of like the Christmas recess. This is going to go right up to the actual wire before the Scottish elections. The Nicola Sturgeon has still not produced the documentation. They're trying to widen the scope of the inquiry into actually including whether or not Nicola Sturgeon actually broke the ministerial code, which she has, and she will have to resign on it. She can't filibuster. The government, the Parliament is putting pressure on the government. There's already been a majority in the Parliament to release the legal documentation. The Parliament will have to nail her down and actually get some sort of timescale on when this legal documentation is going to be produced to the Parliament, because there's a majority within the Parliament who have said to actually release this documentation. Holy smoke, it sounds like a UK swamp. Yeah, it's very funny. Yeah, we're hopefully going to get other political parties in that are going to be better, because we've got a lot of political dross in just now, unfortunately. Bit like what's happening, just about to happen in America, unfortunately for you guys. In America, whoever my American audience is, it is a UK swamp, New World Order, global reset plan, very much so, guys. It's exactly what's happening. We all know who they are. We're all seeing who's the globalists. So almost every party, I'll come back to this guy in the Conservatives in a minute, every party is a globalist party. Everyone's shilling for the globalists. I would suggest Nigel and potentially the Scottish Libertarian Party, British Libertarian Party are not global shills, although the Scottish Libertarian Party believe in open borders, which is no different from any of the other parties. So that's my gripe with the Scottish Libertarian Party, and that's why there will be another Libertarian Party set up in Scotland. There are difficulties and tough decisions. Sorry, I missed that. I'm too busy laughing at it. It's so funny. Sir Keir denied the suggestion, the decision to vote for the deal to appease large swathes of Brexit supporting voters. A bit late now, isn't it? Keir Starmer was a globalist saying, no, we're going to win a second referendum. And although you're going to lose the vote, although you've already lost the referendum, you've lost the election to Boris and the Conservatives because you're back to the Remain position. You're now going to appease them after the fact. Oh my goodness, what a laugh. Honestly, these guys are all It's what he said. Scotland has been compromised by the globalists, not for Scotland anymore. That's very true. Well, I mean, Nicola Sturgeon's already said, I'll get wee Calamity on in a minute. But he's already, Nicola Sturgeon has already said that she's not a nationalist. She's just a shell for the globalists. And I'll actually get that clip up in a minute. Young Calamity has actually done it. Who's going to try and drain our swamp? Well, Nigel's already there with the Brexit Party, and they just vote for the Brexit Party. Even if Nigel's not the answer, it's better just to vote for the Brexit Party or the Reform Party will be, and then just get rid of all these guys. You might as well pull the plug on all of them. The Conservatives, the Labour Party, the Liberal Democrats, just pull the plug on all of them. And just all vote for the Brexit, the Reform Party, and that'll literally flush the toilet and drain the swamp. Flush the toilet, I prefer to say. We have to be aware of who is who. Who is well? I'm going to come to that. That's a good point. I'll try and crack on with this, and then keep commenting. There are difficult and tough decisions, but in the end, there is only one choice, a binary choice here. Either we support the deal or we support the alternative, which is no deal, which would have been much better. We have always been against no deal because we're corporatist globalists, and that is why we will vote for this deal. I think many people will see this as a tough but necessary decision on behalf of the Labour Party and the Labour movement. The Labour Party that's getting rid of all its working class constituencies, who are now obviously all Tories. Oh dear, I swear, I think I've had it. Oh, and there's George Galloway. George Galloway's now taking over for the Labour Party in Scotland. If they promote family values, they are patriots. Yeah, I agree with family values. Although I'm a libertarian liberalist and I believe in very much freedom out with a relationship, I definitely am committed to, if I'm in a relationship, committed to that relationship. And I believe in family values. I believe in being committed to your wife or your partner as well. That's my own personal thing. So I definitely believe in that. If they don't, they are globalists. Yeah, well, they're not just globalists. Two entities that are going on here. There's the corporatist globalists and the Marxist globalists. So there's two different entities. So the corporatist globalists are promoting the breakdown of the family by the Marxists, whether it be Antifa or BLM, who are openly saying that they want to break down the nuclear family. So that's their objective. They're the fifth column in our society. They want to destroy families, family values, and family constructs, so that they can break it down and rebuild their social utopia that's only killed 100 million people so far. So it's got a good track record. I'm sure it'll work next time. Probably wasn't real socialism or real communism. There he said it himself. Exactly. So let's get going. Let's crack on. We have always been against the deal. I think many people will see this as a tough but necessary decision on behalf of the Labour Party, the Labour movement, and on behalf of our country. Parliament has been recalled for an emergency sitting on the 30th of December to vote on the free trade agreement and put it into law. MPs will begin the debate at 9:30 a.m. and can take part on a vote remotely. Now, I don't think there was enough time to actually scrutinise this bill. I think there should have been more time for this. This is very important, and there was a number of pages. I think about 1,000 pages. So I would have suggested that this required more time for public scrutiny, public and governmental scrutiny from both sides. And I think I might do it retrospectively. I might go through the full bill retrospectively. That's going to be relatively boring, but I think we might be able to pick out some things and find out what the actual bill entails. MPs will begin the debate 9:30 a.m. and take place in Peers. Peers will start their scrutiny at noon the same day. Let's see if there's any more in the Labour Party civil war. Oh. Oh, this is relatively soon. It is kind of tough after all the other politicians we put our trust in. And so the thing about it is, we live in a democracy. So the thing that's happened is that we've only gone from Labour to Conservative, sometimes a wee bit Liberal Democrat. And these are the only three parties, maybe the Greens and the SNP and Plaid and other smaller parties. But we haven't gone to another party out with that. And we've had the illusion of choice. We haven't gone out with those and actually flushed the toilet in Westminster and get rid of, just swept them all out. And that's what we really need to do. So to answer your question, we haven't had a chance to actually sweep out the full thing. Let me see this. So yeah, so we haven't had a choice to actually do that. So here's another article. Let's see that. What's fueling? Yeah, it laid out the perfectly new world order playbook. Of course, we get manipulated by that. It's not us. We're not in charge of our own destiny. This is why when they say about the majority rule in like the Republic, so that if you don't get the majority rule, you get ruled by the minority. And that means you get elitists. And this is what we've got in Westminster. Unless we flush the toilet, then we continue with that. I hear what you're saying, David. Well, that's good, Pat. That's good. So this is what, unless we actually move to another party, it doesn't matter if Nigel. It's unlikely that Nigel's going to completely screw it up. There's some very good and competent individuals in the Reform Party, and then also in the Scottish Libertarian Party. It's good to change because we have the ability to live in a democracy. We can totally change. And it's not going to destroy our democracy and it's not going to affect us. We can always change again, but we have to go out with our normal comfort zones from just going from Labour to Conservative to Lib Dems. They have been working on this for many years, comprising all parties. That's correct. All parties are currently in. Nigel actually broke the mould and shattered the collective of the Lib Lab Con Party, the Greens, the SNP, all of the political establishment, who are protected by the media, who don't allow any other people to come in and have alternative voices. Nigel has managed to be a total battering ram and we're now out of the EU, thanks to Nigel and other people. It wasn't just Nigel, but certainly Nigel was the most prominent figurehead of it all. And I hope he's nursing his hangover. What's fueling the Labour Party civil war? So we all know that this is all happening. It's obvious. It's getting played out in the public sphere. They all hate each other. Corbyn hates Starmer and they've got to placate each other. Now they're going to split and it's going to be two separate entities. And then they're going to be a lot happier because they can just stay within their own wee echo chamber. So this is from the Evening Standard. I think it was the 28th of December. What's fueling the Labour Party civil war? Oh, yes. For a moment, the Stammer age felt like... So Stammer's just like a yes man. He's like the ultimate, yes, Boris, yes. That's great, Boris. Nigel Shea Britton, a bloody hero, 15 years he stood alone. Well, I think it was 25 years, but yeah, you're quite right. Seemingly daily stories of infighting and chaos arrive. See, I told you guys, I said to you, I knew this was happening. I haven't read any of these articles. We're just reading these together. But we know that it's happening. You can see it, there's hatred there for internally within the Labour Party. The Marxists and the Social Democrats are clawing each other. It's like Jurassic Park. But soon, seemingly, daily stories of infighting and chaos arrived. Oh, yes, I love that. Let's increase the size of this. Oh, yes. Let's hear the chaos. After giving a forceful speech about workers' rights last Tuesday, forensically listing all the ways in which they have suffered during the pandemic, you've had to stay in your house and you're getting told what to do for something that's got a 99.9% survival rate. Sounds like a tough job ahead of them. Yeah. Scotland will become the new Venezuela if Sturgeon gets her way. Yes, that's correct. I think that's who she's role modelling herself on. Or Chavez. Oh my goodness. That's right. That's exactly right. After giving a forceful speech about workers' rights. Now, to build the economy, we need entrepreneurs. There's entrepreneurs that will help increase the availability and the choice for workers to have their labour valued. And what they're trying to do is obviously use mass immigration to dampen the labour market and for labour people who are in work or workers to increase their value by increasing the amount of opportunities they've got because of increased in entrepreneurship. So they don't want that. So what they're doing is allowing mass immigration in, and that dampens down people's ability to earn money. And now they're bringing in racist quotas so that less and less Indigenous population will actually be able to be employed. So that it then becomes racist against the Indigenous population as they become less and less, and they enforce these race-based policies, which I don't believe in. Speech about workers' rights last Tuesday, forensically listing all the ways in which they have suffered during the pandemic. Unite Union member Howard Beckett pressed the leave meeting button and abruptly disappeared from the National Labour Executive Committee away day Zoom call. Some people wondered if it was a technical hitch, but he was followed by 12 other Labour members in protest. This is the split. This is the split I'm talking about. This is two separate parties. It's now factionalised to the point that they hate each other. About how factional the decisions of the current Labour leader have become, as they wrote to the party's General Secretary. The catalyst for the walkout. So there's walkouts. It's getting crazy. It's getting absolutely crazy in there. The catalyst for their walkouts was the election of a moderate, oh my goodness, Margaret Beckett, Mags Beckett, as chair of the committee. She has said she was a moron for voting for Jeremy. Let me just read that again. Yes, you know that anyway. She has said she was a moron. I don't think she's alone. For voting for Jeremy Corbyn as Labour leader. Well, it gave us all a good laugh. Thanks very much, Margaret. Her appointment was seen as provocation by those on the left campaigning against Keir Starmer's. Now, there's meant to be now, because Keir Starmer's agreeing with everything that Bojo's actually wanting, the left in the actual Labour Party are now wanting to replace Keir Starmer with the Dream Team, Diane Abbott and David Lammy. This is seen as the Labour left Dream Team. Diane, two left shoes Abbott, and David Mastermind Lammy. Oh, fantastic. Let me take these two. Aye, Andrew, you're bang on there, man. Yep, that's correct, Pat. Are you what you make and produce, get making and producing? Uh, you are what you make, get producing, and get making and producing. Yeah, that's right, mate. Um, Scotland has great marketing potential, but we must be free of SNP totalitarian. I completely agree. Well, I'll get another choice on the ballot paper as well for you. But I would suggest that you go for the Reform Party or the Brexit Party on your second vote. Unfortunately, well, they may less do first candidates in constituencies. Um, that may happen for the Brexit Party, for example, because they would probably get more money, or the Reform parties it will be. But I think for the second vote for the Scottish Libertarian Party, that's going to be one of the ways to get rid of the totalitarianism of the SNP. It'll start gradually, but it'll build up momentum. People will get sick of Nicola Sturgeon and sick of the SNP, just as the same way they did for Labour. It's not It's not the SNP that's a problem or the Labour Party, it's the left generally that's the issue. It's the left that's held Scotland back in Scotland. The Green Party, George Galloway will just be part of that, Colin Fox, Tommy Sheridan. It's the left that have held Scotland back. And that's the problem. Let's go. So, Kieran, oh, here we go. We've got a good bit coming on. I'll just have to repeat this. She said she was a moron for voting for Jeremy Corbyn as Labour leader. Her appointment was seen as provocation by the left. So this intense hatred of each other, left campaigning against Sir Keir Starmer's suspension of Jeremy Corbyn from the party. So they're going to start splitting and coalescing around Steptoe and Starmer. So it's now about to split, and people will go either way, whether they want to be part of the Social Democrats or the new Marxist Corbynites. Uh, for the party, after the report from the Equality and Human Rights Commission investigating into anti-Semitism. So you can see under the Marxist left, under Karl Marx, when he wrote The Jewish Question, although he came from Jewish lineage, he wrote The Jewish Question, which was quite anti-Semitic as well, and was really the forerunner into fascism and then into National Socialism. It all came out of that. So that's why there's an underlying anti-Semitism in the actual left generally. So including all of that in the left. So although the Marxist or globalist left, whereas the National Socialists were nationalist left, if that makes sense. So were the fascists. Fascists were nationalist left as well. Um, Giovanni Gentile, Mussolini, what do you call them? Mosley were all part of the socialists and all part of the left. A quarter of Americans had Scottish roots. Yeah, it's massive. And they categorise the Scots Irish as a different group from the Scots. I don't know why. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I wouldn't even class a different group as the Irish as well. If you include the Irish and the Scots together, and the Ulster Scots, which I don't know why that's a separate category. They're either going to be Irish or they're going to be Scots. And Scots are Irish anyway. The Scots were the Scoti from Ireland anyway, so it's not. That's all part and parcel of the same thing anyway. But yes, the Scots are massive over there. Oh, yeah, I think the majority of your presidents had part Scottish ancestry, including Trump as well. They love Scotland, a huge market, untapped market. Nippy hates America. I love America. So I've never been, can't wait to come. Glad you clarified that they are leftists' fault rather than any party's fault, and that's where I was getting lost a bit. Yeah, it's not. If you jump from like the SNP to George Galloway or to the Labour Party or to the Liberals, it's not going to matter because it's the left. Although they have slight differences in their ideology, it's the totalitarian totality of spit it out, Dave. Totality of the left that is the issue. It's the left in Scotland. They've left our. I mean, we had the Scottish Enlightenment, which advanced our society at no end. We had fantastic builders. We developed things, and it's been the left that's been the issue in Scotland. If I took you to all the poorest areas in Scotland, they've been designed by socialists to keep people impoverished in Scotland, and that's certainly something I don't want to see. I lived in the US for 20 years. Market is massive. They love us. Yeah. And we love them too. And it's certainly something that we all connect with. I'm very worried about Joe Biden, mind you. I think for America and for the rest of the world, this is a big problem. I mean, if they voted to get Trump out and they got Biden in, they've made a huge, huge mistake. Huge mistake. And that's from a place of caring about you, not caring. Let me go back to this. The mood in the party is febrile. I don't know what that is. That sounds fantastic word. That means civil war. As a Labour Party Labour activist, people voted for Starmer because he promised to unite the party. No, he hasn't. He split it. He's got rid of Corbyn. Don't you think the Communist CCP is behind all they are in the US? Well, we already know that somehow that through Hunter Biden, that was covered up by the big techs in Silicon Valley, the American media, he was taking bribes under the table. So we've got a corrupt president now that's openly acknowledged from the actual documents that he is corrupt. So I would have thought that Biden should be in jail if the connection is proved to be correct, that he's been taking payments through his son and into that. So he's actually, and we already know he's very close. He's basically been bought off by the CCP in China allegedly. So this is a big problem for America. They're supporting openly 100 odd days of communist Antifa in Portland and throughout America, and Marxist BLM. And there's that twat, who's the mayor from London, Sadiq Khan. He's putting communist symbols of the fist and up for the New Year display, tearing down street signs to put diversity road, stuff like that. Tourism ops, don't worry about Biden. He's going to jail. I mean, I would have thought that if you're taking bribes to sell out for your own profit, that should be corrupt. I would have said that should corrupt. I don't know, but I mean the way that America's just the American government, the American judiciary has just thrown out all the things that were wrong about the American election, then that's a big issue. Massive voter fraud in the US. No fan of Trump, but Creepy Joe is a proper sock puppet. Yeah, 100%, 100%. So the mood and the Labour Party, they're hating each other. People voted for Starmer because he promised to unite the party, but it hasn't seen this many factions in my 30 years being a member that's going to war. They're going to split. It's now they hate each other that much. I think there's probably going to be between up to 40, 50 Corbynites, and then the rest of the Labour Party is going to remain Social Democrats under the Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, Keir Starmer wing, and it's going to now become two parties. Yes, the CCP is behind all of this. Slowly catch a monkey. Yeah, through Google and the CIA. Trump is patriot though and loves the people and the country. Yeah, he's a great guy. Not about filming his bank account. Yeah, he's a tremendous guy. He's been very maligned. And it'll be a damning indictment of certain people in the US of what's actually happened to Donald Trump. I think he'll come back. 4 years, he's the biggest thing anyway in the Republican Party anyway. What he needs to do is, well, he should come and speak to me. I'll certainly help him out. But what he needs to do is get loyalists in the swing states and make sure that this is all nailed down before the actual election. There are actual people who are Trump loyalists and Make America Great Again loyalists in the swing states and the battleground states. I've deep studied all this for many years since the Bibles were removed from hotels 30 years ago. Why? We will win, watch and learn. Okay, Trump is brilliant. Okay, so they are more interested in fighting each other than clobbering the Tories. I told you until this split actually happens in the Labour Party, they're more interested in beating up each other. The two wings of the Labour Party hate each other more than they actually hate the Tories. I mean, because Keir Starmer's just agreeing with everything Boris does, he might as well be joining. I wonder if we'll give him a job in the shadow cabinet. So, compounding the tension are new divisions over where to back any Brexit deal that Boris Johnson may reach in the next few days. Starmer has indicated that he will support a deal if the alternative is more damaging, but those who were previously loyal to him, including Shadow Chancellor Annalisa Dobbs, disagree. If we do get a deal, it will be a thin gruel, she said. Thin gruel. The tentative optimism of a few months ago has fractured this autumn, and Starmer was ahead in the polls for the first time since Boris Johnson became Prime Minister. Then on the 29th of October, the Commission's report was released, and what happened next exposed deep rifts that threatened to destabilise the leader in a civil war for the heart of the party. Now, they're either going to internally fight and there's going to be attacks on Starmer as leader by the Marxist left for this Lammy Abbott combo for the new leadership of the Labour Party and depose him. Or OBAM is behind the election steal. Yeah, that's interesting. Wednesday is the day that will show all. Well, if I was in the Republicans, I would definitely not be voting to sanction this at all. This is obviously, it's obvious that this has been completely stolen. Joe Biden, who couldn't get a crowd in a car park, is the most supported politician that has ever been in the United States. And we're all meant to buy that. So Donald Trump was the most voted for politician with the exception of Joe Biden, who is obviously a senile old kiddie sniffer. It's the most supported politician ever in the history of the United States, but couldn't actually fill a car park. Oh, come on. The report found serious failings under Corbyn's leadership. So I think only the British National Party and the Labour Party have been found guilty under the equal opportunity, equal rights thing. I think Nick Griffin was actually supporting Jeremy Corbyn with his anti-Semitism stance. So there's obviously tie-ins between the British National Party and where they stand in the political spectrum, and obviously the Marxist left. A very narrow margin in the political compass between the Marxist and the National Socialist. This is where people get it wrong. In the political compass, where there's four sections of the political compass, nationalism or even ethno-nationalism is not a left or right issue. It's found in all four of the political parts. So is the globalists are found in all four parts of the political compass, the political spectrum. They seem to have managed to say nationalism or ethno-nationalism or whatever is all right wing. What it goes in the political compass is from socialism or communist to capitalism. So that's the left to right. Nationalism and ethno-nationalism is not a left or right issue. It might be left or right within a certain box, within the one of the sub boxes of the larger overall box of the political compass. but it could be on the right. It could be not ethno-nationalist. Could be on the left. So it doesn't necessarily go that when people are making political comments, they're just ignorant about politics as a political science. Wednesday is the big correct. Get me for me all. I don't know what that means. Part get mo for me all. Don't know. Tentative optimism of a month ago has fractured. So we're already now seeing the ongoing re-emergence of these divisions in the Labour Party just continually spill over and spill over. Every they're too busy finding each other. They need to split. They're not compatible. That's where I get lost with it all. The different terms, i.e., Marxist and socialist. Marxism is a subset of socialism. National Socialism is a subset of socialism. So the Nazis were socialists, but they were a subset. They're actually closer to Keir Starmer, and they're more social democrats, but they were socialists in the overall authoritarian left of the political spectrum. So Marxism is a subset. The Frankfurt School or postmodernist Marxists are a subset of Marxism, because obviously the Marxists killed 100 million people and that wasn't too good. People are saying, I don't think they're supporting the working man considering they're killing them all. Maybe we won't vote for these guys, maybe they're full of it. But obviously the recurrence of Marxism and it wasn't real communism, wasn't real socialism. The socialist and socialism has failed continually. And even the Social Democrats, if you look at Tony Blair or Gordon Brown, that was a bit of a mess as well. The Starmer was ahead in the polls for the first time since Boris Johnson became Prime Minister. Then, in the 29th of October, the Commission report was released, and what happened next? It exposed the rifts that threatened to destabilise the leader in a civil war for the heart of the party. So the Corbyn's government and the BNP have been the only ones who have been sanctioned by the Equalities Commission. So Corbyn's been kicked out. Best let Labour fight amongst themselves and destroy the party. I think it is Guantanamo. Is it? Right, okay. You're probably right. Probably right, Lee. Thanks for clarifying that. The report found serious failings under Corbyn's leadership. One of them was he lost hundreds of seats. So Labour Party is finished in Scotland just now. And there was a big collapse for the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party is just as bad. I'll go into that in a minute. But the collapse in the Labour Party happened because of Tony Blair and Gordon Brown. So they've not been even forgiven yet. So there's no sign of an upturn in the Labour Party in Scotland. All the left have gone into the SNP. And it's sort of just transferred from the Labour left to the SNP left. It's less. Apparently, there'll be some high-profile arrests in the US. I'm not surprised. I'm surprised it's taken this long. I'm absolutely gobsmacked. I mean, I'm not the FBI, and I don't have any insight other than what I've actually read. But if Hunter Biden's been taking backhanded deals and talking about the big guys, if that's code, and this money can be proven that it's gone to Biden, I mean, that's obviously corruption. There must be laws against state corruption, and I mean that looks obvious. So I would suggest that the FBI have to investigate that, but they might just sweep it under the carpet. But if they sweep it under the carpet, that means we've got a corrupt American president. Yes, it's Les, but it's also called Gitmo by some. It's easier to spell, mate. Yeah. So, the report found serious feelings. Right, after half an hour after the report was published, arguably not long enough to have read the 130 page document, Corbyn put out a statement. It began by stating that anti-Semitism is a foreign, but it went on to say that the scale of the problem was dramatically overstated for political reasons. But if you're a Marxist, it's actually in your have an understanding of Marx. It's actually in the Jewish question and things like that as well. Stammer says an insider was pissed off. Stammer says an insider. Oh, right, sorry. Stammer says an insider was pissed off. Oh my goodness, you can just see him flouncing about, can you? Him in Steptoe. He was warned Corbyn was of what the report might say and said he was deeply disappointed that Corbyn's comments appeared to contradict his opening line. About 370,000 has been paid Corbyn's legal costs to challenge his suspension. My God, these lawyers make a bit of money, don't they? In a crowdfunder organised by the Labour Marxist wing, party member Carol Morgan, and a petition calling for a whip to be restored to him has been signed by 32 MPs, including the future contender Diane Two Left Shoes Abbott. So this is where we're going to see the split. The 32, I think it might be up to 40 MPs may split away from the Labour Party and form their own sort of communist utopia party. And this is where we're going to see the split, and super brain Diane Abbott is going to come into her own. The Labour Party are finished. Well, yes, but it's whether or not the Conservative Party are going to take a battering as well. I'll get to the Conservative Party later. I'll talk about one of the guys that's left, but I'll do an overview on the Conservative Party later. The Conservatives are watching with glee. This is a welcome distraction from the way many people think they are handling the pandemic, which is also a farce. It's funny that the SNP are mirroring everything that Boris does. So Boris has open borders, the SNP want open borders, Boris wants a crackdown on the pandemic, everybody locked in houses. The SNP want a lockdown of everybody in their houses. So it's almost as if they are just mirroring. When Nippy wants to rejoin the undemocratic European Union. What have we got here? Check out the Duran. Watch the Duran exposing election fraud. Yeah, they do. The Duran. You still watch the Duran. Subscribe to it. They're a great couple of guys. There are any truth to the rumours that Stammer is looking to quit the Labour Party? Well, we don't know if Stammer wants to quit the Labour Party or whether the communists are trying to force him out. It's a really. We don't know this, and if one of the Diane Abbott and David Lammy are going to be the Labour Party dream team, the Labour Party dream team to actually take over the Labour Party, bring it back to its communist roots. Diane Abbott has COVID-21, has she? Till COVID-21. I get that. That was very funny. The Conservatives are watching with glee. Labour's General Secretary has intervened, saying the motion includes expressions of solidarity with Corbyn are out of order. Oh my goodness, the General Secretary's getting involved. He's saying it's out of order. But it's a serious threat to Stammer or the last throes of a dying movement. So they're saying whether or not. But this is where they're going to split, because they don't want the movement to die. They want to have this 32 MPU extreme loony left bloc of absolute loonballs. There are 200,000 unopened indictments in America, more than a few arrests coming. Media too. Things are about to get very interesting. Let's hope so. I hope they do it. There has to be integrity in the election process. I mean, this is getting ridiculous. I don't know any other pandemic that only 300 odd people have died who were healthy, that we've had to lock down the whole country. This is getting absolutely ridiculous. And this is why we have to move the Conservative Party as well. The Conservative Party are a globalist shell party as well. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to find out what actually happens. Amy, could Trump hand over power and not do very much in the back of this? Yes, but I would suggest he has to build a movement now, and he's done a tremendous job, isn't it? He should have won by a landslide. I'd already said that. I didn't factor in the fact that the big tech would censor people. They would do ballot stuffing. They'd have this fake virus that locks everybody in their home and then cheat in specific ways. And Sturgeon, and we all protesting this be the government as Glasgow on the 9th at George Square, 9th of January. This is a scam. So is there a protest in Glasgow on the 9th of January, is it? The against the lockdown. So that'll be very interesting. I might try and come along to that, see everybody there. I thought Diane Abbott was suffering from mad cow disease. Oh dear. So they're going to split. So it's going to be two factions, and they've had enough of each other. It's complete. They hate each other. They hate Starmer. They may try and internally attack Starmer and force him out for agreeing with Boris and supporting the New Deal. And oh my goodness, the scenario that Starmer fears. Since he decided to stand for leader, he has been acutely aware of the need for him to appeal to a broad swathe of the party. Keir has made a constant effort to reach out to Corbyn's supporters, but kick Corbyn out himself. Yeah, you guys are great, but your leader is rubbish. To find common ground and bring them into the tent. But they all support Corbyn, so they don't want to be in your Social Democratic tent. Says a moderate Labour MP. It's not a clear cut, however, as split between, see it split Corbyn and Starmer supporters. There has been a lot of psychodrama about who has stuck with Corbyn, says a former Spade. A lot of it is down to personal ambition. Deputy Leader Angela Rayner and Rebecca Long Island Iced Tea Long Bailey, for example, have drifted apart. Don't like each other at all now. Wee Specky is looking at two absolute mad birds staring at each other, want to have a fight. Have drifted apart since the Starmer sacked Long Bailey from the shadow cabinet in June. So she's been sacked because obviously Long Bailey is a big step to big Corbyn supporter, and she loves Corbyn. So obviously Stammer's just moving out all the lefties. He's just trying to get rid of all the lefties because they're embarrassing. So all the lefties are now coalescing and now want to actually separate in a different party. So we're going to see a new party getting formed, and it's going to have about 32 MPs. And it's going to be this sort of neo-Marxist left, progressive left, regressive. They say progressive, but they're just a bunch of regressives. For example, have drifted apart since Starmer sacked Long Bailey from his shadow cabinet in June. Ange and Bex share a flat. Oh, that must be terrible. I think Angela Rayner's quite far left as well. She had a flat in Westminster for 5 years, and they say they end their lease because Rayner wanted to spend more time with her children. That's it. Angela is ambitious but not very clever, said a former Spade. She sees herself as a future leader. Oh dear! Oh my goodness! Angela Rayner PM. That's about as likely as Joe Swinton. I'm surprised she's in the cabinet. What have we got, guys? Here we go. Labour Party. No, where is that? With the SNP taking a battering at the next election because of the handling of the pandemic and their all-round failures. I don't think they are going to take a battering at the next election. I think that especially the first votes, I think they will actually get a majority. It's how many of the second votes go into the list MPs and whether that brings in new faces. It started there through Masonic Lodge, 33 Degrees, Illuminati bankers. Labour are finished. They lost all the working class, especially in Scotland. They've now just lost the working class in, in England, the northeast, northwest of England as well. So the seats have been held for hundreds of years. Is that gone Tory? You couldn't write it. That's why I think there's a chance for Nigel to win the next election, because when you've severed that connection, and they may not go back under Keir Starmer. What's Keir Starmer difference to Corbyn? Corbyn's a bit further left, but two multi-millionaire London metropolitan don't give a shit about the working class individuals. Labour are finished. So the police are mostly Masons. The problem. Cheers, Flambeau. I definitely be one of them. The left are regressive. Exactly, the left are regressive. According to Lynn Wood, Epstein is still alive and has told all to save himself. Wow! Can you imagine Epstein has been covered, and everybody who Epstein has implicated is now going to be brought in. All the people on the flight logs. If there's tapes, if Epstein has taped it all and has been like a CIA operative or an FBI, whatever, operative, and he's taped all these high-powered individuals with kids, can you imagine, like, if there's something on Prince Andrew? Oh my God, they've all been compromised. It's going to be unbelievable. If that is what's happened, that's going to be massive. That's going to be the sting of the century, because they've also got Maxwell as well. So can you imagine that's them got both those operatives, and I'm using that word in the proper manner, two operatives who were entrapping what looks like paedophiles, although I'm not sure if what age the girls were, if they're willing or not. I'm not sure what the situation is there. But if they've got those and they've broken the law, that's going to be absolutely massive. No problem, Pat. We all need all the people there we can. Mason answer to the New World Order, not the people. So the police are not ours. Nigel and the Reform Party need to do well in the next election. I believe they do well. Well, the first things are first is going to be what happens. They're standing councillors all over England. They're standing in the local elections. I would have said that David Kushner should just join Nigel's Reform Party. It's pointless, David. It's pointless. I think David has a place in politics. It's just pointless having these smaller parties just now that fit in with Nigel's. It's just going to be a struggle for them to get any momentum to get to the size that's required. If they all fold into Nigel's, it's going to make Nigel's party and them as ongoing political entities much bigger. And it's going to have an accumulative effect. It's going to be pointless them staying in the situation that they're in. Hope so much. Epstein is living with Andrew. Epstein is living with Andrew. Well, Isaac, laugh like, in my basement. Aye, who told you? Very good, guys. Angela is ambitious, but not very talented. Says a former span. She sees herself as a future leader. She's got Joe Swinson's aspirations. Oh my God. And is selling herself as a compromise candidate. compromising the head, manoeuvring to make it look like she is the only one who can negotiate with the hard left. Oh dear. I think the red wall rejected the hard left, Angela. What you need to do is punt the hard left. Thanks very much. And the Social Democrats then will have to go ahead with the hard left. Long Bailey, meanwhile, has acknowledged that this is a sad situation and she would have United, but signed the statement saying that Corbyn should be returned. And I think Keir Starmer's going to stay his ground. Corbyn's not going to be returned. And this is going to be where the split comes in the Labour Party, because Starmer won't let anti-Semite Corbyn back into the Labour Party. About 32 MPs will go with Corbyn, and there'll be two. There'll be the Labour Party and whatever Corbyn's new faction is going to be called. Seriously though, yeah, F the SNP. Well, I'm very disappointed in the SNP. I think the SNP, regardless of what you think about Alex Sam as an individual, to me the SNP were better under Salmond. And if you don't like Sam, that's okay. But I'm just talking for me personally at a political level, as him as a politician. Nicola Sturgeon is mentally far left. She's as far left as he's loading balls here, if not further. She's a progressive postmodernist Marxist. That's what Nicola Sturgeon is. And potentially a lesbian, which makes her a bit of a misandrist. Corbyn should return. Bex has a bright future, but there is no coming back from this anytime soon, says Labour source. On a personal level, Corbyn's former supporters are still friendly with him, but are pragmatic. But no, it's now time for a split in the Labour Party. That's what's going to happen. John MacDonald and John Lansman, who told the NEC protesters to get over themselves, don't want to make the same mistake they did in the 80s. Then they disappeared, so they are making an effort to be seen to be helping Starmer. So they may try and patch it up, but we already know that the split is, and they really don't like each other. The far left, and there's about 32 local constituency Labour MP chairmen and constituencies who are backing Corbyn's readmittance. So there is an underlying situation there, which then corresponds with about the 32 hard left, loony left, neo-Marxist individuals there. Seriously, you certainly spoke for me there, Andrew. Yeah, I think everybody's agrees with the SNP. They are a disgrace to the Scottish people. They are no nationalist party. Let me just get up wee Calamity. We'll go from this to young Calamity. So here we go, Calamity, huge. So I think it's always good. I think it's always good. So this young fella is brilliant at doing
I think it's safe to say that last
doing
episode
this.
has been a success, folks. I
He's
mean,
great at analysing. His political analysis is very good. I'm just a wee bit worried about his direction just now. So this is, if you've not watched this,
framing it as if this was done by the
if you've not watched this, go and watch this. This is absolutely brilliant. He's done a tremendous job here. So let's just take it from the horse's mouth, shall we? Nicola Sturgeon. What Nicola Sturgeon says. And let's see what she says. Oh, I think she's got a wee bang in the head. Oh, look at this. So let's have a wee look at young Calamity says.
And see if we can have another crack at getting Big X charged with something, shall we?
I think you may have given the brain damage. A very cranky Christmas. Here we go.
I'm happy to do that. Let me just briefly take on this
Listen to this.
issue of the term nationalism. My party wants Scotland to become an independent country, and therefore we are described as Scottish nationalists. I've never been very comfortable with the word nationalist.
So did you hear that? Do you want me to do that again? I've never been very... I think she's very comfortable with the word Marxist, but I don't think she's comfortable with the word nationalist. Ah, that's very interesting. The leader of a Scottish National Party is not comfortable with the word nationalist. So that means that you're standing on a false ideology. So why don't you change the SNP's name to something that suits your politics? Because you're obviously lied to actually get elected. So let's do that again.
I'm happy to do that. Let me just briefly take on this issue of the term nationalism. My party wants Scotland to become an independent country, and therefore we are described as Scottish nationalists. I've never been very comfortable with the word nationalist.
Regardless of where they come from, if you choose to live in Scotland,
so
then
Nicholas Sturgeon's talking about
Scottish.
Nicholas Sturgeon's talking about open borders and the New World Order. The open border, which the Conservative Party, the Labour Party, just the New World Order open border scenario. Again, brilliant by Calamity finding this.
Regardless of where they come from, if you choose to live in Scotland, then as far as I'm concerned, you're Scottish. Whether you were born here in the 3 generations of your family were born here, or whether you've only lived here for a few months.
Don't talk a lot of shit.
That is so funny. Let's do that. This is the best video. A very cranky Christmas by Calamity. Look it up, it is awesome. The best video ever. Watch this.
Regardless of where they come from, if you choose to live in Scotland, then as far as I'm concerned, you're Scottish. Whether you were born here.
I wonder if the Sudani was counted as Scottish when he murdered the 3 people in Glasgow. You absolute clown.
3 generations of your family were born here, or whether you've only lived here for a few months.
Don't talk a lot of shit.
Oh, that is absolutely brilliant.
Scotland, when the Brexit referendum happened in 2016, voted to stay in the European Union.
40% of people didn't vote to stay in the EU. In Scotland, 1 million people voted to leave. And if you're one of that million people who voted to leave the EU and you're Scottish or in Scotland, then do not be voting for the Conservative Party, the Liberal Democrats, the SNP, and many other parties. The only people who want to be outside the EU is the Reform Party and also the Scottish Libertarian Party. There might be a couple of others that are smaller. Thanks very much, Lee. I really appreciate you subscribing to The Genius. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. At least you know talent when you see it. SNP are like a tick. You just can't seem to remove them. The underlying issue, the reason the SNP are being successful is that they're perceived as a nationalist party. Let's just go. And we need to look at this again. So they're perceived as a nationalist party, but there's the leader saying that they're not. Let's just listen again.
I'm happy to do that. Let me just briefly take on this issue of the term nationalism. My party wants Scotland to become an independent country, and therefore we are described as Scottish nationalists. I've never been very comfortable with the word nationalist.
So she's the leader of a Scottish National Party and she's not keen with the word nationalist. So what are the SNP? let's examine from a political science point of view what would be the correct terminology for the SNP, and let's call them what they are: an postmodernist, Marxist, regressive left, racist, anti-white racist. So they're actually against their own people. Globalist, shill party. So they're also Colin Fox. I was speaking to Colin Fox, the leader of, or high up in the Scottish Socialist Party, and I said that the underlying policies that the SNP were doing were Marxist in the origin, where they actually can draw back from what Marx taught, that these are Marxist policies, the hate speech bills, protected classes from the Jewish question. You can directly draw back to the different books that Marx wrote in the first third of the 19th century. But he said, no, because they're a globalist party, the globalist agenda is corporatist globalism. So they want a technocracy where they've been governed by 20 unelected commissioners, where the big companies can dictate the legislation that is then imposed from the top down through the EU, which it's the EU Commission, the 20 unelected commissioners, that are dictating the legislation that has to be rubber stamped by the democratically elected House. It's an absolute disgrace. Pat, you took the words right out of my mouth. It would be great to see wee Nippy charged for her crimes against Scotland and make her to her own Tower of London. Well, only the Scottish people can wake up and actually see it, and obviously people who hopefully give an understanding of politics and get her to understand. And what she says herself, only by doing that can we shine a light. Maybe people will start to understand and maybe get a better political understanding. I think it's important. This is very important what she's actually said, because it's out her own mouth. Well, it's not something that I'm interpreting for her. I think Nicola Sturgeon's, this is her actually speaking. Listen to it again. She is the leader of the Scottish National Party, and she's embarrassed by the word Scottish National. So what is she then? What is the Scottish National Party if it's not a national party?
Let's just briefly take on this issue of the term nationalism. My party wants Scotland to become an independent country, and therefore we are described as Scottish nationalists. I've never been very comfortable with the word nationalist.
So, I mean, she's meant to be a lesbian in a relationship, so her life is just like one big deception. The party's deceitful. She's meant to be a lesbian, and she's coming across very misandrous in her policies. Not had any children, which is also quite suspicious. She's meant to be going out with this, have a relationship with a French journalist, I think it is, or something like that. And she's meant to be in a lesbian relationship with her. So her whole raison d'etre has been a deceit and a deception, not to mention what her and her husband has done to Alex Salmond. And she's still not releasing the legal documentation. So, I mean, to smear somebody with sexual allegations, for her husband to be on the WhatsApp group, let's see if I can find this. This will be a good one for us all. So, listen to this. Listen to this.
Might not have done. Call the people. In recent days, private messages purporting to come from the SNP's chief executive, Peter Murrell, have been published.
So, Peter Murrell's Nicola Sturgeon's husband, if you don't know. So, husband. And Ruth Davison's the leader of the Conservative Party in Scotland. She is now saying there was a release of WhatsApp messages that said that they should contact the London Met Police to have Alex Salmond investigated for sexual crimes down in London. So the whole thing looks like a huge setup. Also, Alex Salmond has been found innocent of all of this. So this is Ruth Davidson taking to task Nicola Sturgeon on Nicola Sturgeon's husband's WhatsApp group. So listen to this. This is really, listen.
Messages which say it is, quote, a good time to be pressurising, unquote, police. And
can you imagine that? Can you imagine how much of that breaks the ministerial code that her husband, which I would suspect that the two of them are working in cahoots. So let me just get that back. Now you'll see Nicola Sturgeon doesn't deny that this was her husband did actually send this. And we don't know how if Morell actually sent and contacted the actual Met Police to actually have him charged. This is very serious.
Have been published in the media. Messages which private messages purporting to come from the SNP's chief executive.
Oh, what the hell happened there? Sorry about that.
Might not have done. Private messages purporting to come from the SNP's chief executive, Peter Murrell, have been published in the media. Messages which say it is, quote, a good time to be pressurising, unquote, police. And to be honest, quote, the more fronts he is having to firefight on, the better for all complainants, unquote. He in this case being Alex Salmond. We don't know whether these messages actually come from the SNP chief executive or not. The messages were passed to the committee inquiry and it deserves answers. So let me directly ask the First Minister, who is also the leader.
Listen to this. This is very important. This is a massively important question by Ruth Davidson. Listen to this.
Leader of the SNP, are these messages genuine or not?
Now, if they weren't genuine, you just say no, they are 100% not genuine, and that's the end of that. That would be that. No, they're definitely not genuine. If Nicola Sturgeon was lying, and they later to be found out again, she would again be lying to the Parliament, and she would have broken the ministerial code again.
As I understand it, the obtaining of messages in the...
So she's not denied it. She's not said, no, these are not from my husband. She's not said that. That would have been my opening statement. What she's saying is that somehow these have been obtained underhandedly. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. If your husband's been saying to the Met Police, we want other investigations into, I don't know who the other investigations is, but that just shows you that the corporatist globalists will use sex allegations to destroy men's lives if it's in their interests.
Passing these messages to the committee, and it appears to me that when they were passed to the committee, they immediately leaked to the media. That is how it appears to me.
So she's not denying any of the fact that her husband had said that he wants to put more pressure on Alex Salmond by getting some other front down in London by the Met Police for sexual allegations. Bear in mind they had 13 or 14 sexual allegations in the High Court in Edinburgh, and they were all thrown out. He's also won another legal battle against the handling of this by the SNP. Nicola Sturgeon's not releasing the legal documentation. She is absolutely screwed.
Obtaining of these messages is currently a matter, as I understand it.
I see. The problem is not what your husband had said to actually get the information. The problem is that these messages were obtained in an underhand manner and released to prove that you guys set up Alex Salmond.
Investigation. Now, I am happy to answer any questions.
Let me just go back because I've stopped that. Let me just go back.
It appears to me. But the obtaining of these messages...
So she's not bothered about what was actually in the messages. She's only worried about the obtaining. And she's not actually said that these messages were not actually correct. That wasn't her husband that sent these messages. And we need to find out if the Met Police were contacted. That needs to be found. And we need to get the release of the legal documentation. Let me go back.
it appears to me. But the obtaining of these messages is currently a matter, as I understand it, of a police investigation. Now, I am happy to answer any questions before this committee that they want to. But people are saying, answer them. This committee has
Answer them. Of course they're going to say answer them.
asked me. I am not standing here, presiding officer, and I don't think it is reasonable for me to be...
It was a misprint. It should have been the NSP. Yes. The Alphabet Party.
ask questions about things that other people might or might not have done.
Now, this is her husband, so she doesn't know what her husband has said in this WhatsApp group. What might be said, she hasn't denied it, has she? Listen to that, she's not denied it.
People who the messages are purported to come from, and ask them.
Alright, so I think they've got Morel back, her husband back, in the actual committee to actually find out. Where Morel's been very sketchy about whether he was at the meeting with Alex Salmon, whether he wasn't, and this has put Nicola Sturgeon really under pressure, that she might be lying and breaking the ministerial code. Cole Hamilton has asked for the inquiry to be extended into whether or not the First Minister broke the ministerial code, which I said that it was correct. I was correct in pointing this out anyway.
Any questions? Call me and I will answer for myself.
Alright, so I think we need to call you and find out whether you've broken the ministerial code.
The issue here, presiding officer, is that I am willing, the committee can convene this afternoon, and I will answer questions for my conduct before that committee.
I wish I was in Parliament, I would have some crackers.
It is outrageous that I am in a position...
I would just like to, she's just waffled on there for about, I don't know, a few minutes, and she's not denied once that her husband had sent this in the WhatsApp group. Whether or not that was followed up, we don't know.
Right now, of having given written evidence to this committee 2 months ago, it hasn't been published. That's not down to me. I've not been invited to give evidence to the committee, and yet I am somehow being accused of not being prepared to answer questions, and in Parliament being expected to answer on behalf of other people. If people want to take this seriously, then treat the committee process with respect and take it.
But the Parliament has already asked for the legal documentation to be released, and Nicola Sturgeon's still not releasing it, even though there was a majority to actually have this legal documentation released by Parliament and for the committee.
Take it seriously.
My understanding, presiding officer, that the police inquiries about how the SNP's former Justice Minister received the messages, and that does not preclude the First Minister from saying whether they are genuine or not, and she knows that.
So there you go, guys. There you go. I think that's unbelievable. So let's go to this character.
I'm Peter Robinson.
Let's go to this guy from them. A former Conservative jumper shipper. This guy is an absolute piece of work. This is from Microsoft News. Former Cabinet Minister issues appeal to Keir Starmer. Former Tory Cabinet Minister issues appeal to Keir Starmer to build a progressive alliance, a regressive alliance to reform politics. These guys couldn't reform themselves. So this is a fake Tory who is actually extreme left, and there's an infiltration of these sort of progressive fake Tories in the Conservative Party that have corrupted conservatism for years. And we'll have a read at this and have a wee laugh at this chap here. So, I just wanted to check that we're still going. So, former Conservative Cabinet Minister has issued an appeal to Keir Starmer. So, can you imagine that? Former Conservative. Les, she's flapping. You can hear her voice getting higher and higher. Exactly, she's flapping. A former Conservative. Now, he's meant to conserve or be a member of the Conservative Party. So this just shows you there's a fifth column within the Conservative Party. Former Conservative Party minister has issued an appeal to Sir Keir Starmer to lead a progressive alliance. Why would any Conservative Party member or former member be calling for a progressive alliance, a regressive alliance, to drive through reform to the UK's democratic system in the wake of Brexit? Well, I think Nigel Farage and the Reform Party are one to do that as well. So maybe you should join the Reform Party. And I never liked this guy. His eyes are too close together. Stephen Dorrell, who served in Margaret Thatcher's administration and was Health Minister under John Major, said that the current first-past-the-post system has a small clique around Boris to impose its will on the rest of the UK. The problem is people like Stephen Dorrell, who are like fake Conservatives, but there's the core. We've got three parties effectively, like Keir Starmer. That's why he can easily move from the Conservative Party to the Liberal Democrats, and now talking to Keir Starmer, because they're all globalists, including Stephen Dorrell. There should be one party within the neoliberal, authoritarian liberal political part of the compass. These are all just one entity. That's why Stephen Dorrell's able to move quite easily between the Social Democrats and the Labour Party, the Liberal Democrats and the Christian Democrats, because they are all just, there's not a fag paper between them. Who served in John Major's administration and was Health Secretary under John Major, said that the current first-past-the-post system has allowed a small clique around Boris Johnson to impose its will on the rest of the UK while disenfranchising millions of voters. Well, first-past-the-post is always going to disenfranchise voters, isn't it? In an open letter to the Chief Executive published in The Independent, he told Sir Keir Starmer it was time for him to raise above your legitimate concerns as Labour leader of the Labour Party and take on the mantle of national leadership as leader of the opposition by building a broad movement to deliver a new politics. Mr. Dorrell was a loud voice in the fight against Brexit. So he's a Ramoner, he's a Christian Democrat, fifth columnist in the Conservative Party and chair of the European movement, which are also like the arch Ramoners as well. They're the Ramona wing, the fifth column in the Conservative Party. And they feel more at home with the Lib Dems and also the Social Democrats and the Labour Party. They're actually closer to the Labour Party, the Social Democrats and the Labour Party, than they are to the Marxist wing of the Labour Party. But the majority of the Marxist wing are all Lundbogs anyway. Unsuccessfully for the party in year's general election, he told The Independent that he had not discussed his proposal for a progressive alliance with Lib Dem leader Sir Ed Davey, and he acknowledged that it represents a challenge for the Lib Dems as it envisages them standing candidates on platform of supporting Starmer as Prime Minister. That's never going to wash with the Lib Dems. Lib Dems think they're a cut above the Social Democrats within they can't coalesce around anything. He did not put forward a precise blueprint for how the alliance should operate. So they're always talking about this alliance, get the SNP involved, get Plaid Cymru, get the Greens, get this progressive alliance that they all are the wee captains of their own wee ships, and there are political differences, but they'll never coalesce. There'll never be a regressive alliance or a corporatist globalist alliance with these parties as well. They might be in friendly terms and they might cooperate, but they'll never stand down candidates and they'll never coalesce around anything. And anyway, people are moving away from the regressive left. Anyway, they're seeing right through the regressive left. How do you put forward a precise blueprint for how this alliance operates? So we don't really know. People won't actually join. Whether informal or cooperation or electoral pacts to stand candidates aside, never going to happen in key seats. This, as well as preferred form of proportional representation. Well, Nigel wants to bring in proportional representation, and I would agree. I think with the smaller parties, such as For Britain or Britain First, or the one with Lawrence Fox, and the one with David Cushion, may get a greater traction if there was some level of proportional representation. They would be better. These parties would be better standing in Scotland, or I don't know what I think Wales as well, and getting traction in these countries, so that they can utilise proportional representation to get elected. That's why I think Nigel may get MSPs in the Scottish Parliament next year. I think the Scottish Libertarian Party are just slightly off, and it might take a few years for them to get the first MSP, but that will happen as well. But people are now flooding away from the SNP into the Scottish Libertarian Party. Said the Liberal Conservative, he was repelled by the Nationalist. So there's another guy that doesn't like to support his country. All these guys are really sellout, weak beta male types, or lesbians like Nicola Sturgeon, allegedly. Nationalist exceptionalism, which is now the regular diet at Downing Street press conference, and want to trigger a drive to build a better future for Britain. I don't know who the better future's for. I don't think it's for people like myself. The landslide of 80 seats victory, which enabled Mr Johnson to drive through a hard Brexit, was produced by a general election in which a majority of voters backed parties supporting a second EU referendum, he pointed out. But he said, so we've already got the makings of a rejoin movement, and that you have to be very careful about the infiltration. We already know that they control the majority of the parties anyway, but there has to be an anti-rejoin movement as well. It's not going to be, because we've left the EU, that's not the end for the globalists. The globalists will continue to push their agendas. But he said that the immediate challenge for the centre ground politicians was not to battle for a return to the EU, but to address the ability of small cliques to impose its will on the rest of us and claim democratic authority in doing so. I totally agree. And this is why if you don't get majority by ruled by the majority, you get ruled by the minority. And I do agree with this. That this is the problem. This is what I think the white privilege alludes to, is ruled by the minority, by an elite set, and doesn't allow the fluidity of different people to actually come into politics. And I think that is an issue. I think rather than call it white privilege, I think it's just there's a small minority of privilege when you actually have it ruled by the minority. Working at 5 a.m. bedtime. Thanks, guys and girls. See you all. See you later, Robert. Thanks for subscribing, buddy. Describing first past the post as unfair to voters, Mr Durrell said that it fails to express the balance of political opinion in the UK, suppressing the voice not only of supporters of smaller parties like the Lib Dems, but also traditional Conservatives or backers of left-wing momentum movement. Why is she even commenting on that? Who currently feel underrepresented in Parliament? Mr Durrell, the Conservative momentum supporter. What? It magnifies the voices of factions in the control of the two major parties, which is correct as well, and suppresses all others. And Mr Durrell, it's a system which could be designed to make large sections of the electorate system that could designed to make large sections of the electorate feel disenfranchised. That's correct, and Nigel Farage is one to bring in some sort of proportional representation as well. The SNP have actually dominated Scottish politics just now, but I think proportional representation will rebalance the Scottish Parliament over time. A widespread sense of disenfranchisement was palpable in 2019 and abated somewhat in 2020, but will return with vengeance when the combined consequence of Brexit and COVID. Well, the lockdown should never have happened. This is an absolute disgrace, the COVID lockdown. and there will be changes for Brexit. So the exacerbation by locking down everybody for COVID will only exacerbate the short-term changes that will happen through Brexit, hopefully for the long-term gains. And people begin again to ask who speaks for them. Certainly not you, Mr. Dorrell. You don't speak for MD. I think you get sacked when you joined the Liberal Democrats as an MP, when you jumped ship from the Conservative Party because you're an arch Remainer. Urged Stammer, another Remainer, to resist the introspective, backward-looking and self-regarding arguments of those in his own party who urge him to stick with the existing two-party system in the hope that its pendulum will swing again back to Labour. Well, I think, as I said, I think the Reform Party will come in and actually jiggy up the three-party cosy coalition that's happened for generations in the British Parliament. And I think that's going to be great. Maybe they can break the two-party monopoly. With the May 21st Scottish elections, the Scottish Parliament currently forecast to deliver another majority of the Scottish National Party running on an independence ticket. The Labour leader must offer voters north of the border an answer to the sense of injustice they feel over. Well, Labour have taken Scotland for granted for years and didn't do anything, and Scottish voters know this. And for all the flaws, which there's numerous of the SNP, they're slightly more focused on Scotland, although as we've seen from Calamity's brilliant video, that Nicola Sturgeon said she's not a nationalist. So what is she? I don't want to know what you're not. I want to know what you are, so that I know what I'm voting for. So we SNP are not a nationalist party. Now we know from the horse's mouth. Your challenge as leader of the opposition is twofold. You need to show all UK voters that politics can work for them, and you need to, in particular, show voters in Scotland that their voice will be better heard than has been the case in the past. That's not going to happen. Both the Labour Party and the Conservatives have ignored Scotland. That's why the likelihood is that Scotland will become an independent country, because they're both ignoring it. And what will eventually happen is that we'll bring up a party that will immediately pull out of the European Union. So there'll be a party set up, and if we get a majority, we'll immediately pull out of the EU in Scotland, if it becomes independent. So I was thinking about this. I'm going to leave that there. So I was thinking about this, and I would like to know your thoughts on me contacting Donald Trump to see if he would stand as leader of a new political party in Scotland to become First Minister for Scotland. He is part Scottish, his mother is Scottish. So I just want to put that out there. I'm going to leave it at the end of what we're going to say. But would you like Donald Trump to be the leader of a new political party in Scotland and to run for First Minister of Scotland? Let me know what you think, guys. I'll get in contact with him and see if he will respond to us. Donald Trump, leader of the Scottish Parliament. So he's President of the United States and First Minister of Scotland. Guys, I love my baby gorillas. You know I love you guys. Good night. Go for it, David. Well done, Pat.